That's a stark nap.
Yep.
Good for you. I slept on 4 chairs. I fell asleep probably for 15 minutes.
I was gonna leave it to go take a nap, and someone said, "You want to do the daf?" And I'm like, I feel bad now that I'm gonna say no on Yom Kippur. So that was my nap.
Shmuel and David, we had a chance. We finished because we had enough time when we finished Mincha. I told her, Yomi Gumi, I said, Yomi, you could say the daf now. We'll start the Nila 10 minutes after we said, and you could have plenty of time. You could say the daf and Nila because we left too much time.
So listen, bottom line is I know it's Matzah Yom Kippur and everything else. If anybody did the daf, ask questions, I'm telling you right now, you're going to have to ask Mechila at least 6 times now.
No, I didn't do it.
Why? I can't ask questions now?
I didn't do the daf.
Well, wait, so we were discussing Spira, the Ner Shel Shabbos. You make Havdalah straight from the Ner Shel Shabbos, right? I listened to a share from your father. Said you shouldn't transfer it to another candle. Go straight from the Ner Shel Shabbos.
Some yes, some no.
I don't know. That's what your father said.
Your sheet got me in trouble. I told my wife that we shouldn't transfer it, and basically
No, your wife got you in trouble.
I'm
The
using
sheet
the
didn't
internet.
get you in trouble. Your wife got you.
I'm using the internet.
What do you do?
I do whatever's available.
Do you take another flame, or you use that flame?
No, you just use one flame.
You need
Just
it the
one flame.
second?
No, I know you use one flame, but you leave
I'm
it.
saying you use that yurtzeit candle. That
You
yurtzeit
leave it in the
candle.
yurtzeit candle. You just use the flame, right? You don't transfer it to another flame.
Some people say you should transfer. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says you should transfer it to another flame.
But the Shulchan Aruch says you shouldn't.
what did your sheet say? Does your sheet say you should transfer it or not?
My sheet is already forgotten. I don't know what it says over there. It's 2 days old.
I didn't hear it from it. I heard it from his father, who said you shouldn't transfer it.
You should not or should?
Should not.
I don't think my sheet addresses it.
Avi, ask this in 11 months from now because it makes no difference at this point.
I got
Ask it before next
If
Yom
you want,
Kippur.
I could make a copy of the CD. You can listen to it.
There you go.
I listen to it every year, past 15 years.
I hear you. All right, we ready to roll?
I think he makes fun of Naftali in it, so I always listen to it.
You can go on the dot for that. Okay. So we're doing the Hilchos Shabbos, not the Hilchos Shabbos, but the covered Shabbos Gemaras. Tahsheen Amud Aleph. It's about 10 lines down from the top. Tanya Amar Love al Shamai Hazakin. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay, so Tanya Amar Love al Shamai. What? It's about 10 lines down on Tahsheen Amud Aleph.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tanya Amar Olav al Shamai Hazaken Kol Yom Eichel LeKavod Shabbos. So all his days he would eat the covered Shabbos. Matzah behema no Amar Azula Shabbos. If he found a nice behema, we say this is going to be for Shabbos. Matzah acheres no hemeno. If he found another animal nicer than it, Miniach es hashniya v'eichel es harishayna. Then he would use the second one and he eats the first one. This is what they do in the very right-wing circles with esrogim. They buy one esrog, then they see another one, so they take the new one, they put away the old one for somebody else. Then they find another one, they keep that one, and it's a whole train, right? Not in these parts, but other.
Fine.
Yeah. But anyway, so it sounds like a positive thing that Shammai did, right? Everything was for Shabbos. Aval Hillel was talking midah acheres ha'isaloi. He had a different midah. Shekol ma'asav l'shem shamayim. All his ma'asav l'shem shamayim. Shenever baruch Hashem yom yom. Right. So meaning he didn't put away for Shabbos because he had faith that he'll find one for Shabbos. When it comes to Shabbos, he'll find one. It's very interesting. It sounds like Hillel is the more Erlich one. I don't know. To me, Shammai sounds pretty Erlich. Everything that he buys, he keeps pushing off to Shabbos. And I'm saying, well, he didn't have as much bitachon as Hillel did, right? Because Hillel said, "I'll get for Shabbos," which is quite an interesting thing. Tani Nami, Hachi b'Shamai, Omer mechad shavecha. How do you pronounce this there? Mechad shavecha l'shavtecha. From one Shabbos for your Shabbos. Bishul Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. Bishul says it's Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, meaning from the beginning of Shabbos, me'echad b'Shabbos, it should be for Shabbos, right? Meaning you should do something for Shabbos every day. Yeah, okay, but the bottom line is that was the philosophical difference between Hillel and Shamai and how to prepare for Shabbos. If you're giving a present to your friend, you don't have to let him know that you're giving him a present.
What about cleaning for Shabbos? Your wife tells you to clean, so you can say, "Well, I'm waiting. Wait, we're going to clean for Shabbos. Don't worry. The house will be clean for Shabbos." How's that going to grab everybody?
My only kasha on your kasha is, what do you mean, what if? It's not what if, it's when. When
Is
is
this,
it, right?
is this a Shalom Bayis question or a Shabbos question?
He's saying maybe you have faith. Don't worry, it'll get clean for Shabbos. That's what he's saying. That's the male attitude. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the joke? It's Mamish and Yonah Diyam. Isn't that the joke that if women had to buy the lulav and nesting and put up the sukkah, and men had to clean for Pesach, they'd both start on Erev Pesach? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. Anyways. If you give your friend a present, you can give an anonymous present. You don't have to let him know, so that he's not wondering, where does this thing come from? Right? Moshe didn't know that his face was shining. Meaning Hashem gave Moshe a present that his face was shining, but Moshe didn't know about it. Why didn't Hashem have to tell him? Right? So you see, you don't have to let them know. Right? I have a matana in my storage house, and its name is Shabbos. And I want to give it to Klal Yisrael. Go let them know. So you see that he did have to let them know. There was this matana called Shabbos being given to Klal Yisrael, and they had to be known that they were getting this present.
Might actually be a song of the Daf.
Yes, I was going to say that's a song of the Daf. Yes. Yeah. So if you give pas to the tinoik, you have to let the mother know, right? If you decide to give something to a child, you have to let the mother know, so she knows what's going on, right? And how do you let him know? So Rashi says you make an ice, which we see in the Gemara Vayta. Yeah, fine. Loi kasha. So whatever it is, it's a stira. Do you have to let the guy know that you're giving him a present or not? So our answer is loi kasha. If it's a matana that's eventually going to be revealed, so then you don't have to say. Right? So if it's not going to be revealed, then you have to say. Shabbos nami. So Shabbos also matana David legluye, but Shabbos is going to end up being revealed, right? So why did you have to tell him? Matan schara lo yavid legluye. I'm sorry, I said the pshat wrong. I'm sorry. It's if the person's going to find out about it, then you have to let him know. If he's not going to find out about it, you don't have to let him know, right? So Moshe was going to find out. I'm sorry, Moshe was not going to find out about it. Klal Yisrael was going to find out about it. So that's the kash. I'm sorry, that Shabbos is Avida L'Gluye. Shabbos is going to be Avida L'Gluye. So we say Matan Schar lo Avida L'Gluye. The schar of Shabbos is not going to ever be revealed. So since it's not going to ever be revealed, you have to let Klal Yisrael know about Shabbos and how holy and chashuv it is. Okay, so Amar Mar. If you give bread to a tinoi, you need to let the mother know. Right? Well, what do you do? So shayif lo mishcha umalale kuchli. You have to wipe his eyes. You have to put a siman on him and wipe his eyes. But now if the kid comes home with makeup on him, which is sort of like a siman that you gave him a present, but nowadays that there's witchcraft, so then the mother's going to think that some witch got him. So what do you do? What you do is you rub him with whatever food that you give him. You rub him. I don't know exactly how you do this with bread. I understand if you get a kid chocolate. So you get a kid chocolate, so you wipe his head with some chocolate, and then the mother knows somehow that it was given to him by an adult. Right? But if it's bread, so what exactly do you do? I gotta leave it in his head, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So Rav Yochanan. All the mitzvahs Hashem gave to Klal Yisrael, he did it b'farhesia. Chutz mi Shabbos shenasan lehem b'tzina. Except for Shabbos, he gave it b'tzina. Shenemer beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oisi li'olam. It's between me and b'nei Yisrael, and it's an ice. So we know from the Gemara of Avodah, right, the famous Gemara where Hashem went around and offered the Torah, right? So the Goyim turned down, and they turned down Shabbos. And they're going to get punished.
Parrots, this is for you. On this Gemara, there's a man. He's a year older than Mendel. Should live me well, so he's not a kid. I still hear about it from his family that the first year I gave him a shot of old granddad when he went sukkah hopping. I said to him, "You don't need candy anymore. You could use some mashka." And I gave him some granddad. And I heard about it that year, and I've heard about it for 40 years since. So,
I heard that's when his beard started to grow.
he doesn't have a beard.
Well, because you didn't wipe it on his forehead. You should have wiped that. That was your mistake. Yeah. Anyway, so he's saying that it's betzina from Klal Yisrael. Shenemer beini uvein b'nei Yisrael beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oisi li'olam. Yachi lanchu nachram Allah. So if it's only a private deal between Hashem and Klal Yisrael, so why would Goyim get punished for not keeping Shabbos? So Shabbos I do here dinu matan schara lo yedian. No, he let the whole world know about Shabbos, but the deal, how much schar you're getting for Shabbos, that already only Klal Yisrael knew, right? Which we said last week, the Taz that says that if you keep Shabbos properly, you get a kapara better than Yom Kippur.
That's not fair. The Goyim won't know. If they would have known the schar, they would have kept Shabbos.
Could be, but they didn't. But they turned it down, so they didn't want it. I mean, they're going to come back and say, "Had you told us the schar?"
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? They didn't have all the facts.
That's why it says in others,
What does that mean?
we don't do it. We don't do it for the schar. We do it because the Kadosh Baruch Hu told us to keep Shabbos.
But I think the Gemara by the Zohar, it sounds like they do have a similar taina somewhere. No, that the Goyim say you didn't tell us exactly. No, isn't there a Gemara out there somewhere like that?
That's the Gemara.
We had that but Bahar Sinai, that Klal Yisrael, the Hashem told them they're not allowed to come close to Tahsheen, and that was their test. And when the Goyim's test, they failed because it said like signat, like sigzol, whatever, like tinuf. The Eden said lo karav lahar, whatever the lashon was, and they still took the Torah without being allowed to come. So they passed the test. The Eden.
Right, but no, I'm saying where the Goyim said, didn't the Goyim say?
Your Gemara is with the Matzichamim in Artika with Sukkah.
Right.
They complained about it.
Right?
So you gave them the mitzvah. Let's see how well you keep it. I'll tell you everything. And they kicked it away.
Oh, so maybe that answers it. But we don't know if they kicked away Shabbos. They kicked away Sukkah.
Well, that was the point. He gave them an easy mitzvah. He wasn't going to give them Shabbos.
Okay, so Zev, that's the answer to your kasha.
They're going to have a time and they're going to say, if you would have gave us the schar, maybe we would have taken. They're going to have a time.
Right. I hear. Yeah, no, but he did it with the sukkah and they still kicked it away.
Okay, so what? That's an easy. I'm not explaining.
Yeah.
Shabbos is bracha. Say maybe I would have taken.
I don't know, but it's based. Yeah. People say
Real
matan
schar
schar
is the same thing, Zev. Real schar is closest to Hashem. It's not baubles. It's not, they don't give you diamonds. Because we do a mitzvah, the schar is we're called closer to Hashem. There's no difference between Sukkah and Shabbos. Shabbos makes you more close.
Could be. I don't know. People say matan schar nami adinu. He told him on the matan schar neshama yisera loydim. He didn't tell him about the neshama yisera. Damar Rav Shimon ben Lakish neshama yisera noisen kodesh baruch hu ba'adam erev Shabbos. He puts in an extra neshama on erev Shabbos. And on Shabbos, night when on Shabbos, he takes it back. Shenemar shavas v'yin nafash. Kivin sheshavas v'y of the nafash. Right, since you rested, then after you've rested, then v'y woes that you lost the nefesh.
Maybe
Right.
that's why there's an Ibai Semer, because of the kasha. You would have told him the
That
schar.
could be. That could be.
That's what Ibai Semer.
Yeah, maybe.
They did know the schar, and they're going to get punished, but they didn't know what the Neshama says. So the schar you knew already, so then maybe that's
maybe.
Ibai Semer.
I hear that. That could be. Right, but there's no neshama yisera on Yom Tif, at least according to the Pashata. Right, that's what that's what we make a bracha on Avdallah on Motzei Shabbos.
Is there a
Because
Neshama Yisera on Yom Kippur? Neshama Yisera on Yom Kippur?
It's no, there's no neshama yisera on the. Otherwise, we would make samim. It's a whole issue. Do you make samim on Motzei Shabbos when Shabbos is Yom Kippur? Right. It's interesting. If you think Yom Kippur should have a neshama yisera, right? If it's Shabbos sign.
No, it says on Shabbos, and the Machzor says on Shabbos you should do it. I mean,
Yeah, but Yom Kippur you don't have. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made
no,
it.
if it comes
I mean,
out
he's saying on Shabbos Yom Kippur.
No, that's debatable.
To make him
It's
solve
But
debatable.
the article says it, so therefore that's what we pass.
Correct. Well, you do it. We do it on Motzei Shabbos.
all right.
Yeah. All right. Fine. That's the Agadah part of Gemara.
David, it's
Now-
Art Scroll and Avi's wife both say that.
No, it's the sheets. It's the art scroll in the sheets. The
On
sheets.
the sheets. Yeah.
The sheets.
Like the grid stencil. No.
Very good. Okay. So now we're back to Eruv tavshilin. So I saw Adam tavshil Eruv Yom Tov. So how do you make an Eruv tavshilin? So you make an tavshil on Eruv Yom Tov, right? For Shabbos, and you rely on that. You have to make something cooked of a pas loy. You can't do bread. Maishno pasta loy. Why can't you use bread? Even if you needed something that has to accompany pas, loy melafta, and bread doesn't accompany bread. But daisa nami loy melafta. You have daisa, which is, what do you call daisa again?
Cereal.
Yeah, like the cereal. That's not melafis. That these bavloim, they're stupid, right? They eat nama with nama. And they mix it with daisa. So it should be. No, so the pshat, so the meaning that it should be okay to use daisa, and you can't use daisa either, right? So you need something that's not so common, because if it's common, it's not going to be as a hecker to you that you're cooking it for Yom Tov. Because otherwise, you're always cooking it. Right? Pas is common. Daisa lo shchicha. Daisa is not common, so therefore you could use daisa. You don't use pas. Igadam, he said the other way around. Amurabasi lo shana v'lo tavshil. We're only talking about tavshil of a pas loy, but not bread. My timer. What's the reason? Right? If you're going to say that it's something that's not common, is what we need, and pas is common, but daisa lo shchicha, daisa is not common. You can't be mara with daisa, right? So it's the opposite, just the opposite. Because before we had said it the other way around, that you could be mara with daisa. You need something that accompanies bread, and bread is not melafis bread, but daisa nami loy melaftin. And daisa is also not melafis. They eat bread with bread. Okay, so we're saying that it can't just be your run-of-the-mill food. It has to be something a little more chashuv. Yeah. So Tani Rav Chia, Adoshim shebishul kedera, right? The beans that are at the bottom of the pot, right? The best part of the cholent, right? The bottom of the cholent. So soymech alei and mishum eruv tavshilin, you can use that for eruv tavshilin. meaning the bottom of the pot. V'hani meaning that's the kezayis, but it has to be at least a kezayis worth of the beans left over. All right, Yitzchak Brei Rav Yehuda, Shamnunis shal gabi hasakin, goyra v'samech alav b'shum eruv tavshilin. The shamnunis, the fats that are on top of a knife, you can roll it and rely on it for eruv tavshilin, meaning you can scrape it off.
Is that chashuv? Or we're saying how not chashuv?
Yeah. No, it is chashuv. It is chashuv.
If it's parrots' meat, it's chashuv.
Yeah, so what Vahani Mili Gemara says this because this will kezayis, it has a kezayis. See, it's very interesting because we know that knives, everybody in the kitchen, what's the most complicated kitchen shilas are always with knives, because knives have shamnunis on it. It's a very difficult concept for us to understand nowadays because our knives are clean. You tell somebody, oh, you cut it with a clean knife, you have to be worried of a fleshik knife with milk. What do you mean? It's all cold, right? What's the difference between a spoon and a knife? You take a spoon of cold, put it into a fleshik spoon into cold cereals, no problem. Right? If you take a knife, it's also not a problem. But if you cut something with a knife, so we're afraid this shamnunis.
Back then, you only had one knife.
I don't know. No. It seems like back then they couldn't clean their knives well. I mean, who's getting shamnunis off of a knife nowadays? A kezayis worth of food off of a knife? I mean, that's got to be the guy doing the dishes. If that
I mean, the health department would shut anybody down, right?
Correct. Correct.
And your wife would tell you get out of the kitchen if you left the knife like that.
Yeah, but back to Taser, we're talking about married people, Tziyako. The last time we had this Gemara, I meant to tell you, in the Dira, we had one fork. And
Right,
it took
I'm just saying
3.5 years.
From the apartments, yeah.
Right. It took 3.5 years till somebody finally said, that's not the fleshik knife. No, that's not the milkig knife. It was the same fork that we used.
Right. So, no, but I'm saying, but knife has a special din that when you cut it, it has shamnunis. And Paiskim say that nowadays our knives don't have the same status because our knives are clean, right? So this Gemara seems to be a proof to that. Because back then, Taka, the knife, the reason the Gemara is saying a knife for a reason. It's not saying spoon, not saying a fork, it's saying a knife. Right? So that's a raya really to the Paiskim that say that nowadays our knives are clean. Yeah. So one of the things with the Kiva Eger. What?
So they had spoons or forks back then.
What? No, I would say they had used some form of utensil. Right? It doesn't have to just be knives. Rabbi Kiva Eger says in Shulchan Aruch that if you want to see if your knife has shamnunis, you run some water down the blade. If the water squiggles, that means that there's shamnunis. If the water goes straight off, runs straight off, then there's no shamnunis. Right? So, okay, that's a way just doing experiment on our knives. But okay, from here it sounds like these knives have a lot of fat. Fine. Hamurabasi, we're 3 lines off from the bottom. Hamurabasi, Amarav, dogim ketanim eluchim, salty fish, ain't behem like sardines, ain't behem mishum bishul nachrim. They don't have bishul akum. Why not? Meaning bishul akum is something a guy cooks. So anything that can be eaten raw or anything that won't go on a king's table is not bishul akum. So we're saying that these sardines don't have a problem of bishul akum because you could eat them raw. Yeah. So Yosef, so Memela, if a guy roasts it, then it's you can use it for Eruv tavshilin because it's kosher, right? The avdinu nachri kased harsana also, but if the nachri takes it and makes some sort of wheat thing, then it's going to be aser because that wheat thing does have a problem. Because it's edible. Mshita, Mao, the same. What you say? Harsana ikar. That the harsana is the main part, right? The fat of the fish. Kamash malan kimcha ikar. The wheat is the ikar, and therefore it's not it can be used as an eruv tavshilin. Amurabasi eruv tavshilin tzrichen kezayis. An eruv tavshilin needs to have at least a kezayis. Ibaylu kezayis echad lekulan. Idilma kezayis lechol echad ve'echad. It needs one kezayis to everybody that's participating in the Eruv tavshilin. Let's say you have a family and there's 10 people there for Yom Tov. So you need a kezayis for each one of the people. Or just one kezayis for everybody. So Tashma, Amarav, Eruv tavshilin tzricha kezayis bein le'echad bein le'meo. All you need is a kezayis.
What's the
right? Whether it's for 100 people. whether it's for one person or 100 people.
What's the harmony? The one person's cooking.
What?
One person's cooking. 100 people.
I know, but maybe each person needs it.
But the one person's cooking for everybody.
I don't think it has nothing to do with the person. Well, here, look at the Tosfos, right? I hate to start it off in our cynical ways, but we have 3 different types of Eruvin and 3 different measurements. See the top Tosfos? The Gimel dinim yesh b'hilchos Eruv, hilchos Eruv. There's 3 dinim in hilchos Eruv. Eruv tchumen tzarich shtei seudas l'chol echad ve'echad. An Eruv tchum needs 2 seudas for each person. Right, and that's what it says. Right, it needs a groigers to each one, and okay, whatever it is. So you see that each one of these is right. Each one of them, it has its own separate shear. The other 2 goes by per each person. For whatever reason, Eruv tavshilin does not go by the person; it just goes by the Eruv. Yeah, fine. So Tanan.
What did you bring down? You brought it for what?
What are you saying?
What do you bring down the Tosfos? Well, for what?
Because Tosfos, the other Eruv, in each person needs its own.
So Tosfos is asking?
What?
Tosfos is asking?
He's not asking. He's saying there's 3 different shiurim, but it's it answers your kasha. Right? It answers your kasha. Right? Because you see that the other 2 Eruvin, each person needs a shear, so this one too. So the Gemara is saying no.
Only one here. The Gemara says, the Havamina was that it should maybe each one, because Eruv kezayis needs 2. Kamashwan not. Yeah?
Right. Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's a kezayis for one.
Everybody used to make their own Erev tavshilin back in the day. Wasn't it community-wise Erev tavshilin?
No, that we're going to get to in a few lines. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So then let's see. Tanan. Achlu back in the Gemara. Tanan. Whatever it is, it's interesting that with Eruvin, there's 3 different Eruvin. Each one's got its own different measurements. One is a Eruv tchum is 2 sudas, and Eruv chatzeres is a groigras, and Eruv tavshilin is a kezayis. Yeah, fine. So Tanan, achlu ha'sha'avad lo yivashalav betchila. If it got lost or it got cooked, it got eaten or lost, then you're not allowed to use it to cook. If there's even a little bit left over, then it's fine. My kolshu lama afagav the leka kezayis. So kolshu means even if there's no kezayis. So you see, you don't need a kezayis. Lied is for kezayis. No, it does have a kezayis. Okay. Now and then we're going to try another proof. Tashma tashul zeh tzli vafilu kavush. This cooked food can be roasted. It could be kavush. It could be soaked. Shalok. It could be cooked. Boiled. Umavushal and regular cooked. V'kuliyas aspanim. Shenasalav chaim of yomtiv. Tchilas of esayfai ein leishir. Right. So you could use kuliyas aspanim. Right. So it doesn't seem to. I mean, tchilas of esayfai ein leishir. My love ein leishir klal. Sounds like it doesn't have a shir at all. There's no maximum shir that you need, but you need a minimum shir, which would be a kezayis. Eruv tavshilin das. Eruv tavshilin needs das. Does that preclude a lot of guys on this daf from? Okay, I shouldn't talk like that. It's Matzah Yom Kippur, right?
Probably the women are doing. Probably the women are doing it anyway. No.
I guess. So then, that they have das is what you're saying.
Well, it excludes the people from this year.
Well, you do the Eruv tavshilin. Excuse me, you do it. Your wife doesn't do it. You do the Eruv tavshilin. Your wife doesn't do it.
What does that mean? I never ever did an Eruv tavshilin in my life. My wife does it all the time. I don't do it.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Why?
You're talking about
Byron, I'm stomach on every single other block has another rabbi that made an Eruv tavshilin for the whole
That's
block.
for sure.
I
That's for
understand,
sure.
Parrots, I understand that. I understand.
Parrots, you can only do that once. You're only allowed to do that once.
It's
That's
once per
once for
rabbi.
each rabbi. There you go.
Parrots, we're thinking alike, parrots.
I don't know. Anyways, it doesn't mean das like that. It means that you have to be able to know what you're doing, right?
Well,
But
you have to know that it exists.
correct. I lost the place. Right, so it's even das. It needs right. So you need das, right? Meaning you have to do with kavana. It sounds like kavana. That's a question. Does das mean kavana?
You have to know that it exists, that you did it, that it's done.
Meaning,
Why-
you decided to get up on
Why
a
do you have
Erev
to know
Yom
it exists? You don't cook. Your wife's cooking, like David's wife. Our wives are cooking. So why do you have to know that to exist? What does that have to do with you? So you can eat better
wanna
shmush.
put on a new shirt.
When my wife
Doesn't mean
wants
that
to, she
everybody
tells
that
me
you
where
Wanna
it
put a
is.
new shirt on.
When
Doesn't
my
mean
wife
that
wants
everybody-
to, she tells me where it is.
Byron, you can't yell at your son-in-law that your wife should be cooking. The other one's going to get a little nervous.
I wasn't yelling at him.
I thought you were yelling at him. Maybe he didn't train her
No.
properly.
Not at all. Not at
Doesn't
all.
mean that if anybody, whoever's using it,
Because
has,
if you want to put a new shirt on, right? If you want to change, you see the new
No,
suit.
whoever's making it has to have das that they're making an Erev tavshilin. They have to have
no,
kavana.
whoever is relying on
No.
it has to know it exists.
That's not
I'm
what this is
saying,
saying.
what does the
That's what
man
the Gemara says.
rely on?
Tzviaku, could you read Rashi? Read Rashi.
Well, it's a long Rashi. But what I'm saying, I think the pshat is that if you made a baked food for Shabbos on Erev Yom Tiv, for Shabbos you made a baked food. We had no kavanah that should be Erev Tavshilin. Stam, you woke up in the morning, decided, I want to make something for Shabbos today. Then it doesn't work.
You make 5, 6 eggs, and there's one left over, and you say, okay, this one will be my Erev.
Well, that already maybe that works because you made the Erev. But here we're talking about where you didn't make an Erev, but you cooked an egg for Shabbos. So l'chayr, that's an Erev. Isn't that the whole point? Right? So the Gemara is saying, no, there was no das. Right? You didn't do it. You have to make the Erev b'das. That's what it's saying. Right? Anyway, so
When?
Pshita, the Gemara says Pshita. What?
When? Before Yom Tov, you saying? Or?
Before Yom Tov, Avada. Right? So the Gemara says Pshita. That's what it was only on a 2-day, right? So we'll get to that. Pshita das
So-
maniach Idan. What? What's the problem?
Now I've got confused. As far as I know, the only 2 men on this whole montage of faces is Avi and Peretz cook the food in the house. All of the other guys on this shia eat the food. But as far as I know, until David said this, I never knew. And there was a place there where the wife makes the Erev tavshil. I never knew that.
No, there's people that the wives make it. Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know that. I said,
There you go. It's a chiddush. Okay, you learn something new every day. It's a new year, a new yeah. Anyway, so Gemara says Pshita das miniach beinon. Avada, the one who's making the Eruv, you need it. Das misha nichul loy beinon or loy beinon. Do you need the das for the person that it was made for or not? So Tashma, this is what you're referring to, Naphtali. Right, Shmuel made an Eruv for the whole town. Hamurabasi did it for the whole Tveri, meaning the Rabbanim did it for the whole town, even though the people didn't know that they're doing it for him. So you see that it's just the das meniach and that's it. So Machers v'Yaakov Baridi, Mishala Yaniach Eruv tavshilin Yovav Yismach al Shali. Anybody, he made an announcement. Anybody who didn't make an Eruv tavshilin should come rely on me. V'ad kama. Until the tchum, meaning whoever's within the tchum Shabbos can be included in his Eruv.
What does Yavai mean?
Then who has to make the Erev tavshilin?
Well, each person's supposed to make it.
How in the house? Who's supposed to make it?
Doesn't make a difference who makes it.
The kid could make it.
What?
A kid could
As
make
long
it.
as he has das.
He has, if it's done, the kavana, yeah.
11-year-old
think.
kid, 11-year-old kid
Sorry.
could make it.
I would think so, yeah.
So coming from the story that nobody needs to know it exists, you just rely on it. Meaning only person that's making it has to have it on.
Yeah. Right, so that's it. But I don't understand why
No,
he has
but
to
they
stop
still
there.
have
Why
to know
can't I
that
make
it.
Why do they have to know it
No.
exists? He just said that there are people in the city that didn't hear his announcement. And if they need it.
We don't need their das in order for it to be made. They need to know it exists in order to use it. That's why he says here, what's it called?
He's saying,
Mishalai hiniach Eruv tavshilin yava v'yismech al shali. Can't just say yismech al shali. The person who's using it needs to know that it's there.
What's Yavai? What do you mean by Yavai? What do you mean medayik from Yavai?
is that what it's
Yes.
saying?
Gershon.
What do you mean? It's saying that
But
if somebody did not, it's a b'diavad case. That's what Gershon is saying. If you didn't
Yeah,
make
but
an
does the
Eruv,
person that's using the Eruv tavshilin have to know that he has it, that it's there, or he could just, he didn't hear the thing, but he says, oh, probably the rabbi made one, I could just use it. He doesn't know. for
no,
sure.
so
What's that mean? What if the
I don't
rabbi
understand what the
didn't make one?
havamina is.
I mean,
How can he use
The
it?
rabbi didn't make one?
Because let's say he didn't hear that it was made. How does he know when it was made?
Then he's doing
Knowledge
hakama.
that it exists. That's what the case was beforehand.
you mean he has to know?
Knowledge that it exists. It's a
He has
question.
to know that it exists.
How do you know that? He just said it in this thing that he announced.
That much is pashut.
Parrots has a munis chachamim. The rabbanim in where Parrots lives in his city, they make their tavshilin. He has a munis chachamim Parrots. What's wrong?
Well, Parrots has a mute button too.
That mashma for what you think, Mr. Yaakov, that he has to know it exists?
Here you can't just be samich on the rabbi. Maybe the rabbi didn't do it. Is that what you're
Why,
saying?
what? Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I would think you have to know that the rabbi did it. That's what I think. Okay, well, we're gonna what's up? Let's see what the Gemara says weiter. But no, Gershon is right. It's mishaloi hiniach Eruv tavshilin can be relying on me. You shouldn't rely on it in the first place. If you didn't do the Eruv, then you samich on the Rav, which is what we paskin.
Does anybody
Right.
do it for Akwe for Oilam? No.
I imagine each rabbi for his community does it.
Why is it only one time they can rely on that?
That's the next Gemara. Let's see the next Gemara. Well, when it brings out the point. There was a blind person who was Masada the Mishnayis in or Brises in front of Shmuel. He saw that he was sad. Shmuel saw that he was sad. Why are you sad? I forgot to make an Eruv tavshilin. You can rely on me. The Shana, the next year, he saw him sad again. Why you said? Because I didn't do an Eruv tavshilin. Then you're already a pesheya, and you're irresponsible. Everybody else can be reliant on my Eruv. To you, it's asur. Right? So you see, according to this Gemara, you can only rely on the rabbi once. Right? You do it a second time and you botched it.
Why is it one? You do it for 20 years, you forget once, and you do another 20 years.
Okay, so that's it.
You gotta get it 40 years later. You're a Pesheya?
What? Yeah.
Why they give me a-
25, 30
Wait,
years
isn't that a machlekes hapaiskim?
Yes, there are those that say that you can rely on the rabbi even more than once. But this Gemara is mashma more than once, and that's it.
No,
Listen, you have a
in
woman
this
who lights
Gemara, there's a
candles every
machlekes,
Shabbos,
no?
and she forgets, you get a knas. What?
Why are they giving an
Isn't there a
example
machlekes in
of a
this
sumo?
Gemara?
Why are they giving an example of a blind person?
I don't think it's an example. That was the story. The story happened with a blind person.
Seems like a little harsh on a blind person. Rachmanis.
The blind person who knew all who knew all the Bryces by heart. Pretty smart guy here. It's not like some
Yeah.
regular blind person on the street.
And
Yeah,
that
but maybe
Shmuel- and that
he's-
Shmuel knew personally.
I'm saying, so it's not like we're actually bringing a pretty smart guy here. Maybe he probably knew the halacha.
Yeah, but maybe he didn't. He wasn't in the kitchen, so he forgot.
Why can't you be Soimach as a matter of course on the road?
Because mean, why can't you just always be Saimach?
Yeah,
Like you said,
What?
you can't be Saimach because it's really supposed to be a household type thing. It's not meant for, it's supposed to be a hecker from all the Gemaras that we've been learning so far. It's supposed to be a hecker. It's supposed to remind you. Right?
Hey.
That's what
Keep it as a hacker and also keep it in a safe place and nobody eats it.
no, you have to do the hecker for yourself on Erev Yom Tiv, right? That there's how do you call it? It's like a reminder that there's a chashivas to Shabbos.
Why we samech on Eruvim with a box of matzahs?
What do you mean?
Talking about something else.
What do we Erev? What do I mean? For this is Badavka that we're afraid of Bizayin.
He's talking about Eruv Tchumen. Well, why were you stay with the box of matzahs?
Yeah.
It's a different topic, no?
Yeah, but that's for a different reason. That's just everybody has to.
Isn't it
Everybody
for-
has to
be ma'arif
combine. You don't have to
together?
have a reminder.
It's
You don't have to have a
ma'arif
reminder.
together. It's
Yeah.
why you want?
Because that's not a reminder. This is a reminder. You need a reminder for covered Shabbos. Right? Okay, so Tana Rabbanan. Yom Tov Shechali is Erev Shabbos. Yom Tov that falls on Erev Shabbos. Ein Ma'arvin. Lo Eruv Tchumen v'lo Eruv Chatzeres. You're not allowed to make an Eruv Tchumen or Eruv Chatzeres on Yom Tov that falls on an Erev Shabbos. Rebbe Yomer Ma'arvin Eruv Chatzeres. You could do Eruv Chatzeres, which would allows you to carry into your neighbor's yards. Aval lo Eruv Tchumen, but not Eruv Tchumen. B'nei she'ata oisra b'davar ha'asr loi, v'yata oisra b'davar ha'mutar loi. So, because Rebbe holds that Tchum is something that's asr to do. Tchum is negeya to Yom Tov. So you're not allowed to do something for Shabbos if it's asr on Yom Tov. But Eruv Chatzeres is not negeya to Yom Tov. You're allowed to carry on Yom Tov. Right? That was the last parak. Since you're allowed to carry on Yom Tov, you're allowed to do an Eruv on Erev Yom Tov for Shabbos. Yeah, so Itmar, Rav Amar Halacha Tanakama. Rav says Halacha is like Tanakama. You can't make either one. Shmuel Amar Halacha Karebi. Halacha is like Rebbe that you can make Eruv Chatzeres but not Eruv Tchum. See, Bailu Halacha Karebi Lekula or Lechumra. Is the Halacha like Rebbe Lekula or Lechumra? Now Rebbe was the Mekel. So what are you asking? Is it Lekula or Lechumra? If he's saying the Halacha is like Rebbe, then it's Lekula. Pshita the Lekula Kamar. Pasha that is Lekula. So our answers from the Shalach Rebbe Lazar Legaila, because Rebbe Lazar sent to Gaila, like Atem Shaim Bavel, be different than what we learned in Bavel. Rav Matir v'Chachamim Eisrin. I'm sorry, Rebbe Matir v'Chachamim Eisrin. Rebbe Matir v'Chachamim Eisrin. Hello, Rebbe Eisrin v'Chachamim Matirin. Meaning you said that it's Rebbe Matir v'Chachamim Eisrin, and we have the opposite. So that's the question that the Gemara is asking: is it better? Is it do we paskin? Which version of it do we paskin like? So Ma'is Tahsheen Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Dimi Avad Uvda Kavasei the Shmuel. He passing like
There's
Shmuel.
another one
Rav.
for Baron. In the middle of switching something, Rav Tachlifa.
Oh, very good, Taka. Very good. Right, Rav Tachlifa means switch. Yeah, yeah. So then the Gemara says, "V'amar Rav Tchilas Hayrod the Haitzur Min Rabbanan Lekukula." He said the first psak of this Rav, right, and it's bad. So now, what does that mean? If you're saying that Rav is a kula, so Hainu kula, because if he was two mekel, so his first psak was two mekel of psak. But if he says he went lechumra, that's not a kilkel. There's no kilkel. You end up being strict, too strict. There's nothing. You're not doing anything wrong. You just end up being strict. So when it says kivan the makalkali barabim, no, since people are going to end up messing up. Right, because they're going to end up forgetting. If you're not going to allow them to make an Eruv, right? He asked them for making an Eruv, right? So now because you didn't let them make an Eruv, now they're going to forget that they're not allowed to carry and end up carrying. So it's a chumrah, tasli de kula, and hainu kula, and that's the kilkul, yeah. So Amar Rava, Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Rav Huna, Halacha Rebbe v'le'asar. Halacha is like Rebbe and it's asar. Yeah, fine. So it's interesting because if you look in the Rans, the Rabbeinu Nisim's, I don't know if anybody said it, his vidui, It's in the Yom Kippur Katan, and some people, it's at the end of Tila Zaka. So in there, some of the things you're doing tshuva on, it's interesting. It says, if we should have to do tshuva if I was machmir where Hashem wanted me to be mekel, and where I was mekel where Hashem wanted to be machmir. What's the pshat? What's wrong if you were machmir where Hashem wanted you to be mekel? There's not. You need to do tshuva on that. Right? Bishul, you were mekel where Hashem wanted you to be machmir. Okay, you got to do tshuva. But if you were machmir, then so. But that's he goes through a whole list of things.
Gaiva.
No. So this Gemara is mamish the answer. Right? Sometimes you can make a chumrah. He didn't allow them to make the Eruv on Erev Yom Tov, on Yom Tov, which was Erev Shabbos. So it's going to come to a kula. So you have to do tshuva for that type of thing too. Somebody does a chumrah shaladin, then they could end up being machmer. They could end up leading to kulas. Okay, fine. We'll stop here. What time tomorrow?
Oh yeah.
What time? 6, I guess. 6.
Yeah.
All right, we'll still call it for 6 tomorrow. All right, a good year, everybody.
Kezayis.
Go ahead.
Not too late. Like 6:40 something at night, you know?
Yeah.
Made Abdallah without Bar Miriam. I didn't have a light. Should I take a Abdallah candle? I can't get a light now. It was lit over Yom Tov.
You don't have a pilot light?
I don't think one that's able to get to, no.
How about your hot water heater?
I don't know if anyone can get to that one. Maybe.
Should I tell him about Rebbe Kamenetsky and show it up?
I mean, it's a machlekes apaiskim. So, I mean, lemaisa, the velt is mekel that you do it.
You do it, okay. All right, let's see if I can get to the pilot.
No, if you can't, don't make yourself a sugar.
Okay, fine. I won't.
All right, fine.
Eretz was still on his state. He'd say that's already happened. So yeah. I got a nice compliment from him right before you came on.
What was that?
He said he's sitting there in the middle of Musaf. He's saying all the Avaida, and he couldn't stop. He immediately thought of me. Asking Tasha in the middle of the daf. No, he just thought of me asking questions in the middle of all the Avaida in the daf. Yomel. Yeah.
All right.
No, you're Tzibah. You got to get Yom Tov.
Everybody gets a good Yom Tov.
Yeah, but no one believes in Yiddishkeit anymore, so whatever.
I hear.
I got Kvittel, I don't know what they're wishing people. You come out of Yom Kippur with Mechila v'Kapara, I got Yom Tov. That's the least of you, you know? Whatever. Hashikayach.